So guess it was day before yesterday, technically. Attorney General Eric Holder, head of the Fast and Furious operation, which I gotta tell you, after seeing that, like, even his comments here, I never really thought about this. I'm just thinking they're all a bunch of criminals, but I'm sure Operation Fast and Furious, where they did the gun running operation in Mexico, and then the Mexican cartels killed our, our law enforcement, two or three agents here with the guns we gave them. That whole thing, and then Obama stepped in. I'm giving him executive privilege so you can't see what the email said, this and that. The reason I think that's the case is because it came from the White House. That's why. It came from the White House. It wasn't Eric Holder's plan. It wasn't someone under Eric Holder's plan. It came from the White House. That's why. And that's why, and this is why I'm thinking that, because if, what Eric Holder said yesterday or the day before is actually shocking, stunning, about the too big to fails and that kind of thing. And the way Bix Weir put it, and he didn't come out and say this, but Eric Holder, but it's true, and this is the way Bix Weir put it. Attorney General Eric Holder just testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee that the investigation into silver market manipulation could not be prosecuted or made public because it would have too adverse or of an effect on the global economic system. And then here's what he ultimately said. And it didn't specify silver, but it's obvious it is, and as well as other things. He says, I am concerned that the size of some of these institutions becomes so large that it does become difficult for us to prosecute them, he told lawmakers. Prosecutors, he said, must confront the problem that if you do prosecute, if you do bring a criminal charge, it will have a negative impact on the national economy, perhaps even the world economy. And I think that is a function of the fact that some of these institutions have become too large, end quote. Mr. Holder, however, defended his agency, stating that federal prosecutors have been, quote, as aggressive as they could be, brought cases where we think we could have brought them, he said. In other words, the stuff that would have huge ramifications, the stuff that they really need to prosecute on because this massive worldwide criminal activity is just going unleashed, unstopped. He's saying we'd like to do that, but we can't because it'll cause, again, like the 2008 terrorist thing we were told, do this bailout or else the stock market's going to drop thousands of points tomorrow and all hell's going to break loose. And okay. Pass the stimulus. Pass the TARP. Okay. In other words, it's several notches below that. They're going ahead and prosecuting. Like J.P. Morgan, cease and desist, drug running money, basically laundering. Cease and desist that. Well, that's a pretty big one, but, there's much bigger things going on than that. Such as, again, complete manipulation on all commodities. It's not just gold and silver. It's oil, except with oil, it's the other way. They're not pushing the price down. They're pushing the price up. So that's why we pay so much money at the gas pump. It's not that we couldn't get out of the ground for $1 or 50 cents or whatever and have it at the gas pump for $1. We could. They don't want it. The elite, the bankers don't want it. They got to make massive amounts of money. They make their money on Wall Street. They don't even have to produce the oil. They don't even have to get their hands dirty producing the oil, pulling it out of the ground, shipping it to wherever, messing with the Middle East and OPEC. They don't have to do none of it. They just print these paper contracts on Wall Street. They leverage them probably at least 100 to 1 or more. In other words, they pretend there's 100, more things out there, whatever it is, in this case oil, than there really is, so that they can push the price easier one way or the other. In this case, they're pushing it higher. With gold and silver, it's the other way. They push them down as much as they can. So, he says, after hearing the panel's after he heard Eric Holder speak, the top Republican Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa issued a statement calling Mr. Holder's remarks, quote, stunning. Mr. Holder recognized that, in effect, the big banks and their senior executives, Jamie Dimon, Lloyd Blankfein, those guys, have a get out of jail free card, he said. And then Big Swear says nothing is by accident anymore, and the huge increase in anti-bankster rhetoric and visibility lately is no exception. The facts surrounding the silver manipulation investigation are so blatant and so damaging to JP Morgan. There is no other road for the regulators to travel. That is why the case still hasn't been dropped after 4 years. You know, the investigation into JP Morgan silver manipulation. And he says, you remember that head fake back in August? That charges were being dropped by the Financial Times? He says, well, guess what? So far they never were. So F you, Financial Times, and you guys are criminal conspirators. So Big Swear says, for the 10,000th time, I'll say it again, the CFTC will bring the hammer down on the silver manipulators, and silver will finally be released from its shackles. How soon? We don't know yet, but it's going to be soon enough. So, again, I've mentioned this before about the Roman Empire because we are so unbelievably similar. And towards their collapsing of the Roman Empire, people at the top were finally prosecuted and finally done away with. All this backdoor stuff and all these people who got away with basically murder and, again, criminals, things that just kind of went under the radar back then, they started to finally prosecute and finally started to do something about it. But it was kind of like it was almost a little too, too little too late in a sense, because of it collapsed anyways. So if you look at our system, it's kind of the same thing. Let's say they start prosecuting now, and oh my God, silver explodes, gold explodes. They caught this manipulator, JP Morgan, and they've prosecuted them, and they've cut the banks up into smaller pieces, and they've, all that stuff. All right, yeah. We're all cheering. We're all doing videos on YouTube. Yeah, we got those bastards. Yeah. We shined the spotlight on them, and we won. Yeah. Does that change the fact that we're at $17 trillion in debt? Nope. Does that change the fact that we don't have the Medicaid and Medicare money to pay for that? Nope. Does that change the fact that we can't pay Social Security? Nope. Does that change the fact that we still can't pay any of the other bills we owe other countries and just generally? No. And all of the unfunded liabilities we have that we normally don't even put on the books because they're too frightening to admit to. The future ones. Nope. Doesn't change any of that. So again, we can cheer, but we have a bigger underlying problem that has been built up, and then we prosecute, but the crap has already built up so much that we got to deal with it now. So again, gold and silver will be that thing that helps you get past this. So that's all I want to say. Take care.